The story of the Miami Rescue Mission, now known as the Caring Place, is a story of God's faithfulness during the past 100 years. His story, God's story, the miracle mission story, comprised of those that are hurting stories, volunteer stories, and supporter stories. All these stories becoming one story. It all started with a couple, John and Zeta Schlucker, way before 1922, with their vision of helping the homeless, the hungry, and the hurting. Their vision started while attending and graduating Moody Bible Institute and interning at Pacific Gardens Rescue Mission in Chicago, Illinois. Eventually, God brought them to Florida. When they landed in Miami, all they had was a vision, lots of compassion, and a tent. In 1922, it became a reality, and they started preaching the gospel message and showing God's love by giving out food and clothing nightly under a tent. Yes, food, clothing, and a gospel message was the nightly ritual. They even picked up people in a small bus and started picking up donations that others gave them. Those donors were the first mission donors. At first, it was needy families that came. Then more of the ministry was helping men who were alcoholics. The Great Hurricane of Miami in 1926 brought a period of depression to the Miami area, which was 3 years earlier than the rest of the country. When the Great Depression in 1929 came, it just added to the already hurting Miami area. Many found themselves homeless, without shelter, or jobs, or food. This affected many classes of people. In the 30s, 40s, and 50s, the mission merged and changed its names. The mission rented various locations and served the crowds in storefronts. The Ashes became the second couple, who assumed the leadership and were the leaders from 1947 to 1970. Reverend McKinley Ash preached on the Little Flagler Mission on Flagler Street. McKinley Ash incorporated the mission as Mission Miami Association and used the DBA Miami Rescue Mission. John Schlucker continued to help until 1958 when he passed away, and Zeta Schlucker continued helping till her promotion to glory in 1969. The Ash family included Marguerite, Reverend McKinley's wife, George, their son, and daughter-in-law, Connie, helped raise funds to purchase the first mission-owned property, 140 Northwest 1st Street. The property building face changed how it looked throughout the years. They had a special sign in the front of the property that said, "When you don't have a friend in the world, you'll find one here." McKinley Ash visited jails, hospitals, and led worship and preached nightly at the Miami Rescue Mission. The Ashes continued to serve until 1970. During the Ashes' tenure, they purchased the Bargain Barn and warehouse and started a men's work and rehab program. They built the first residential men's recovery program. Men could now live, have good meals, study the Bible, and have a work program in the industrial Bargain Barn and learn to drive trucks to pick up donations. The next 5 years were the difficult valley years for the mission. It was failing financially. Alapata Baptist Church helped hold the mission up. Dr. Frank and Maxine Jacobs, a young couple who attended the church, volunteered at the mission. Frank Jacobs was the music director at the church, but felt the call of God to step in and revitalize the mission. Thus, Dr. Frank and Maxine Jacobs became the refounders of the Miami Rescue Mission. Dr. Jacobs helped the mission transition through 2 eminent domains from the city. The first building lost was the old 1st Street Mission, but they were able to acquire the old rundown building at 716 North Miami Avenue, which was the old Royal Hotel. But eminent domain struck again the second time, and the city took that building to make room for the Miami Arena. But God's faithfulness and grace was evident. Miracle after miracle was happening, including forgiveness of a large debt. Dr. Jacobs raised funds by singing at concerts. Maxine Jacobs was the comptroller and was very careful with handling the money and paying off old debts with a strategic monthly plan. The mission finally started to see daylight. The outcome was the 4-story center for men that was built at 2020 Northwest 1st Avenue. The former men's center down the street became the new women's center. Also under Dr. Frank and Maxine's leadership, the mission began to serve the homeless in Broward County in 1992, out of storefronts, churches, and a veterans hall. In 1997, with the then Mayor Mara Galante and Commissioner Catherine Anderson, the buildings at 2056 Scott Street were purchased, and the Broward Outreach Center was born. Alan Reeser became the new director of BOC. Later in 2002, the mission helped open and run for the next 18 years the North Hack called Broward Outreach Center in Pompano. For those important years, the mission operated 2 centers in North and South Broward. The mission continued to expand and prosper. The Miami campus had a groundbreaking of a youth center. It was known as the Community Activity Center, and it was born in 2001. This has become an amazing center for youth at risk. It opened with an after-school program, a summer day camp, and a summer Saturday power club for children. In the Broward Hollywood campus, a women's center was opened in 2005. Many things continued to change. Reverend Ronald Brummett was elected as CEO in 2004 and later became the president in 2007. His leadership saw the birth of the Miami Rescue Mission Health Clinic in 2009, and a new nonprofit was established. The mission also acquired 9 multiplex houses to help formerly homeless graduates find safe and affordable housing. And in 2014, Care Elementary School was born and became part of the Community Activity Center. They also became a new nonprofit entity. This private school is state-of-the-art and helps the at-risk community in the neighboring streets. The story continues. The story of The Caring Place is truly a picture of God's faithfulness and grace. We pray the funding in. Yes, we do the work, but we also know that God gives the increase. We do not shy away from giving God glory for and through this ministry. God is the one that changes lives. We can feed people, give clothing and shelter, and even programs of education. But God is the one that truly is the foundation of what happens here at The Caring Place.